It's the second day of a Judicial Conduct Tribunal hearing into Western Cape Judge President John Hlophe's fitness to hold office. Today, retired Justices Besin Kabinde and Chris Jafta are being cross-examined. They claim that Hlophe tried to influence them to rule in favor of former President Jacob Zuma in the arms deal case in 2008. Reporter Manqoba Mchunu is following proceedings for us. The two justices then giving their version of events today. First Justice Jafta, who says he's not a complainant in the matter. Why is that important?
Well, it's important, Jeremy, because it feeds exactly into what the defense or Hlophe's lawyers are trying to raise in this particular matter. The fact that these constitutional court judges actually were not complainants in this matter and that they were pushed somehow by the then Chief Justice Pius Lang as well as the Deputy Chief Justice Dikgang Moseneke to actually lay this complaint. You recall, Jeremy, that in fact we did hear about a meeting that took place at the Constitutional Court on the 28th of May where that decision was then taken by the Constitutional Court judges as a collective to actually lay a complaint with the Judicial Services Commission back in 2008. And so what Hlophe's lawyers are actually trying to argue in this particular matter is that actually these two judges were not complainants in this matter because there was no influence at all that happened when they spoke to him during that time in 2008, where those claims of the fact that they tried to influence the judges were made, actually. So the defense is of the view that, in fact, Chris Jafta and both Besin Kabinde, the two justices, were actually not complainants in the matter. In fact, there was no point where there was any attempt to influence the decision that they should rule in favor of President Jacob Zuma. So we heard from the line of questioning that Hlophe's lawyers were presenting today to Chris Jafta, asking him, of course, if he was a complainant in this matter. And he says, no, he was not a complainant in this matter. And also asking him whether he thought that at the time when he did speak in March 2008 to Judge Hlophe, whether at all he believed that Judge Hlophe had tried to influence him to rule in favor of Jacob Zuma at the time, to which he says that he thought that merely by speaking to him at the time, Judge Hlophe was merely raising an issue. Of course, he says that when it comes to the terms that we heard yesterday, says Tembeleki Nina, which are words that were said to Justice Jafta by Hlophe, he says that his interpretation of that at the time was that, in fact, what Judge Hlophe was saying to him is that they had faith in the Constitutional Court to make the right decision. So not necessarily referring to this case of Jacob Zuma and ruling in favor of Jacob Zuma, but in terms of the case that was in front of the Constitutional Court at the time. But of course, the issue again that was raised was whether or not he would have raised this complaint himself. And he says that no, he didn't see the need to raise this complaint with the JSC. In fact, he says he thought it was quite undesirable, the fact that he had to testify or be called to testify on this issue by the JSC. Simply because another issue is that he was friends with Judge Hlophe. But let's take a listen to how the cross-examination by Barrister Courtney Griffiths went on.
I didn't think that there should be a complaint by me. And this was explained to the Chief Justice and the Deputy Chief Justice at the meeting that we had. Because I looked at the matter as at that stage when we had the meeting, and I had to draw some inferences which I did not draw earlier on. If one would have to ask me whether I had any impression after my meeting with the Judge President at the end of March about anything improper regarding his conduct, I wouldn't have. So there is something improper worth complaining about.
Now let's turn to Justice Nkabinde insisting that she was influenced by Judge Hlophe.
Indeed, Jeremy. So, unlike Justice Jafta, she says that she was actually the complainant in this matter. And of course, she says that complaint arose after that meeting that they'd had with Judge President Hlophe in May 2008. And of course, she says it also follows that meeting that was held between the justices of the Constitutional Court. But she says that in terms of the conversation that they had, she felt that she was influenced to a certain extent by Judge Hlophe in what he had raised, because she was working on part of the judgment on that particular issue. So she's saying that at the time, when Judge Hlophe raised this issue, she snapped and she rebuffed him. But in fact, she believes that there was an attempt by him to try and actually influence a decision regarding the former president. But let's take a listen to what she had to say on this particular issue.
All right, Manqoba Mchunu, we don't have that, but we'll play it in later bulletins. In the meantime, though,